Hi everyone, Penny Pinching Pathologist here. I just wanted to give you some resources today to help you research your options. So I want to share my screen here and show you kind of a typical list here locally of options that might be given to you for your retirement. So let's say, I know AXA is a popular company that a lot of people have started with. Aspire, I know, is a low cost option. And here in this district, they actually also offer a 457, which in New York is the New York State Deferred Compensation Plan. So I wanted to kind of pick a few options and show you ways that you can research what the fees are and what your best bet is, and maybe kind of identify if you're in a not so good option. So a great website is 403compare.com. And you can search for different things. I was searching for Equitable, which is now AXA. And I found this option here and I put it in my compare list. So you can kind of see some of the average expense ratio here is 1.03, which is on the higher end of expenses. And that's just one of their fees. We'll kind of dig into that in a minute because it's in our compare list. I also added to the compare list this Vanguard option that you can get through Aspire. If we compare those two, so you're looking at those two options to start with, and then the 457, you'd have to call for prospectus, but I know their fees, so I can kind of tell you. When we look at the fees and charges, we compare those two, you see the AXA product has a surrender charge, which is huge, and ideally nothing you invest in would have those surrender charges at this point in time. It's kind of an outdated way of stealing money from you if you move your money. And it's kind of sneaky because from what I understand, say you put money in, you started putting money in 10 years ago, you're past the 6-year surrender period. So you would think you wouldn't be charged fees if you were moving it, but that is from your last date of putting money in, last date of contribution. So if you put money in your last pay period, well, you still get to wait another 6 or 7 years before those fees would not impact you so much. We see here the administrative fees. There's not a percentage here on Vanguard. There's some flat rates, which is more ideal. See, when they have these rolling percentages, you have to add that to that other percentage we saw. Okay, so the average expense ratio of the 1.03 plus that mortality and expense ratio, which would bring you to what? Mortality and expense of 1.2% plus the average expense ratio of 1.03. So we're looking at 2.23%, right? Where the Vanguard just had the flat rates plus 0.15, expense ratio of 0.15%. And I'll let you know the 457 option at an expense ratio, at least the New York State deferred compensation, the one specific one that I was looking at. Okay, so if you're looking at the deferred compensation options here, I'm looking at this New York State Deferred Compensation Board Equity Index Fund, and that has an insanely low 0.01, so way less than those other options. But let's see what that really means. If we pull up on bankrate.com their 403B calculator, I was trying to estimate, let's say we have a salary of $50,000. We want to contribute maybe 10% of our salary every paycheck. Let's pretend we're 25 and we want to retire when we're 60. I'm just now starting, so I have a $0 balance. I'm going to assume the annual rate of return is around 8%, and I have an annual salary increase of maybe 1.5% a year. If we were going with the Vanguard option, right? The Vanguard is like 0.15. Let's see if they let me do 0.15. If I have to stick with 0.1. And then they switch to 0.2. So I'm going to go ahead and just say 0.1. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. So that says from between the ages of 25 and 60, I would be contributing $210,000 of my own money from my paychecks to these funds. Okay, they're showing that without fees included with that Vanguard fund, it would actually grow, assuming it was about 8% a year, it would grow to $995,000, almost $1 million, right? Over the length of time that you're saving. And that's just saving 10% with Vanguard. With the Vanguard fees, when you figure out that 0.1% of fees that Vanguard would be able to keep, you'd have only $974,000. So you do lose some, obviously, to Vanguard, as you'll lose some to all of these options. So it's interesting to see. Now, if all of these details stay the same, but you decide instead of Vanguard, you're going with AXA or Equitable now, and it was, what did we determine? 2.23. So we'll say 2.2. 2.2% in fees. So look at that. It's $1 million again. We're just getting up to about $1 million without fees, and then $620,000 with those fees. So really, even though it doesn't sound like much, 2%, 2.2% of your money, over time, all of the money that you've lost is also losing that compounding interest. So you are down to 620,000 fees. So what is that? Over $300,000 that you just gave to AXA. So that kind of stinks, when you look at all those fees and compare that. Obviously, when we compare that to 0.01%, which is what the 457, oh, that won't even let us do it. Basically, you'd have about $1 million. They barely take any money. So I wish they let you do the 0.01%. Obviously, that's so inexpensive that it's worth going that route. Plus, when you understand the 457 and you understand that when you put money into a 457, that money, you don't have to wait to a certain age if you leave your district. So if you leave, say you want to retire early, you saved up money in your 457, and you can't touch your pension till a certain point in time, your 457, as soon as you stop working for that district, you can have access to those funds. So that can be kind of your gap years of before you start anything with your pension. So you don't formally have to retire, at least in New York State, as of right now, you don't formally have to say to the state, I'm retiring. You just stop working at a district, say at 50, and then you wait until whenever your tier allows you to start digging into your pension, and you just live off your 457. So that kind of, it plays into some of your retirement planning and how you do that, but it's a great option because with your 403B or your pension, there's an age where you can start pulling money without getting fees. And so it's a very interesting thing to use this resource, this bankrate.com, to compare, and 403bcompare.com. I think this website was based in California, where they were trying to compare a lot of options within their California system. But California is huge, so most options that you can find elsewhere, you'll find on this site. Obviously, the New York State deferred compensation isn't on there, but those large 403B options are on there. So you can kind of look at it through this website. You can use that calculator on bankrate.com. You can kind of explore different options on third-party administrator sites. So I just kind of grabbed a random district to see what their options were. Most of these are really expensive options, from my understanding. And again, I'm not an advisor. I'm just kind of sharing what I'm learning as I'm learning it. You want to stick with a mutual fund. You don't want all these annuities because the fees grow and grow and grow astronomically. So of these on this list, I think I've shared with you before, the list that 403B wise guys kind of suggest, or not even suggest, they just know are lower fees and great products. So if you kind of have that list ready to go when you're applying to a job and you see all the great options, you can compare it against this list in front of you, wherever you are, whatever district you're in, and kind of see, like, of the options there, I'm only seeing Aspire. Aspire is the only one that's like a low cost option. And then the 457. So you got to decide, do you want a 403B? Do you want a 457? Both of those are tax advantage accounts. So I hope this helps you figure out different ways that you can kind of compare options for your retirement planning. I'll see you next week.